Ready? Just let this thing do its stuff. Once it realizes that. Yeah, I know. You're eventually gonna get it. There we go. That's a sound. I hope at least it's not audible, I guess. That. Alright. Now to kill my voice to attempt to proofread this. Alright, CAIRE BARE is a small town with farms surrounding. With surrounding farms. Make sense here. Amongst the farms is an orphanage, one that's been in place for decades. Two adults are in charge of this place, Linda and Mike. They are titled Headmaster and Headmistress. I have to switch the order, otherwise that will be kind of awkward. That's a very brusque Linda. Few know, or care to know, their actual names. It runs like any other. The kids wake, eat, lessons, head off their volunteer jobs. However, the kids are their eyes and ears to local areas, little spies. There are... the eyes and ears to the local area. The eyes and ears to Linda into local area. Little spies. One night, after the other kids return to the rooms to sleep, one child does not. Fred, a 7-year-old boy, is displeased with his volunteer job at the post office. I don't even mention that anymore. He likes to sort mail and is good at it, but his heart isn't painting. Fortunately for him, he is more mentally set for sorting items, and it's something he likes. So his profile will likely stay on this track. He wants to switch it over to his hobby instead. Maybe get a tutor to help him. To attempt to fix this, he has the terrible idea of talking to the headmaster himself. Fred walks up to Mike's closed office door and waits on the other side, unsure if he should proceed. Steadying himself, he knocks 3 times. He waits to be called in, or perhaps to have the door open. After 10 seconds of waiting, he instead opens it himself. Mike's office is a standard affair. The doorway, a bookcase looms to the left, covering most of the wall. A filing cabinet sits on the corner in the far end. Above this is a window looking over the farms in the starless night. Mike is sitting in his armchair behind the desk, writing some notes while referencing some documents. On the other side are 2 comfy chairs for visitors. Fred waits in the doorway for another minute. Mike does not address him. Fred thinks the headmaster is not going to notice him. This is false. Headmaster? Mike does not respond. Fred approaches the desk and peers over. Mike pulls back the papers and puts them into a drawer. He opens a different drawer, pulls out a blank page, begins writing while speaking aloud. Did not head to bed, did not wait to be answered at the door. Fred looks worried. His face shifts from a slightly shaken frown to nearly whimpering. Opened without permission, entered without permission, attempted to read documents without permission. Mike finishes the notes and looks up. Alright, this goes together. Well, Fred, can you tell me what you were thinking? I didn't mean to bother you. You believe a headmaster could be bothered by a child. That my job doesn't include addressing the children. I know that, and yet you did not state your business after knocking. You even opened the door and entered. No pause for my response. I waited a mere 3 seconds, no time to finish my business. Tell me, what was happening up there? Gestures to his head. Mere 3 seconds. Let's adjust this. Dots there. What does this button do? Oh, it just takes me to the left. So do it again. Alright. Exploring the home button. Does that mean N goes to... Yes, it does. That's useless to me. Alright, well. How long did he wait? I should be somewhat accurate about this. They're not. After he called out. That's what we'll be referencing. I just wanted to ask a question. I guess it was stupid. Fred feels defeated. There is no such thing as a stupid question. Only stupid children who ask questions. No ability to observe, to think through, or instinct on how to go about investigating. You should know by now that disregarding the other party, in this case myself, is a gross negligence on your part. I can only speak harshly to address Fred's grievous error. Fred holds back tears, knowing this will accomplish nothing. It is, after all, his fault he's in this situation. I understand, sir. Mike will attempt to instruct the boy, to tell him that others have been here and that it's not a death sentence. Fred is not as gifted as some of the others in behavior, but still has a role in society. Many people make mistakes like this and still live happily. This is meant to teach Fred rather than scream at him that he is a failure. Mike needs Fred to understand things a little. Alright, Fred and friend, that's a terrible mix-up there. God, would that be devastating. Alright, Mike speaking a bit softer but still instructive. Learning from these mistakes is your duty, as teaching those like yourself is mine. Some of the older children also make errors and grew from them. A few didn't need those lessons and showed great promise. They are the future leaders of this nation, whether in politics, as foremen, or undercover agents. The rest will have their place at other tiers of skill. Now speaking more softly and calmly, most will end up in a job they enjoy, but the best results arise from not making errors or learning from them. This isn't to say that any job is without pride, for those who work all levels understand their duty. Those from all levels of work. Wrong button. Home is not delete. Backspaces though. Understand their duty and work diligently to produce the best results possible. When you reach adulthood, you'll see all levels at work and their wondrous creations. You'll see this at work. I guess I can keep that. Sounds weird though. Alright, those at all levels of work. That's what that sentence is. You'll see. Alright. Everyone in order. Now this is where the all levels at work come into play. Therefore, all workers understand their duty and work diligently. You'll see all levels at work. Alright, that's good. Do you understand? Yes, Barak is built from the ground up. We learn and are sometimes taught. Our natural talents lead us to a happy future. He looks dejected. Mike now knows what Fred wanted. It is something all people desire and some may achieve. You may ask your question. Fred, starting unconfidently. I really like painting. I want to become an artist if I can. I know I'm good at sorting, but I like making my own arrangements on the canvas. Picking up some enthusiasm. I just need someone to teach me a little bit, now speaking confidently, and I'll be able to make great works of art. Mike decides to inform Fred of the possibilities and the risks of these thoughts. As an orphan, you wouldn't be privy to what I'm about to tell you. Adults do get free time to alleviate stress and to better themselves. Should I make the... No, I don't need to. I need to connect that orphan means no parents, therefore didn't see your parents do any of this stuff. Many will pursue their interests, hobbies outside of work. Their careers won't change, but it grants a brief fresh air. Those who are unable to do their current work anymore may find themselves in a unique position to switch to their preferred field, as long as their training was sufficient enough to overplay their other talents. Yeah, I don't think... I'm gonna just specify that. Since you are without parents, all this other stuff. That one, and space. Fred's eyes lightened up, hope brewing. Mike briefly holds up a hand. Of course, there are those who purposefully force a vacancy at their old job, so they may pursue their interests, have committed a grand crime. Their company has lost efficiency, and this takes away from your productivity, robbing all of us. The punishment is severe. I wouldn't do that, but if I became better at the art later, then you'd have a good leisure activity after your work sorting. Fred's eyes dim, but do not fret, for you still have until you reach 12 years of age to develop. You may end up in your ideal path, but must come to accept the reality of duty over pleasure. You will like whatever career you're assigned. We ensure it. Fred attempts to gain better foothold in the conversation. That's not fair. People should be able to do what they want. They'd be good at it too. Then everyone would be happy and help the country. He asserts confidence, but still feels a bit unsteady. That's what we do here and in schools. Find what kids are good at and like to do. We work to find the best possible fit. Grumpy. Doesn't feel like it. I really, really love art. I just need a little help. Suppose we got you a tutor for art. What exactly would you learn? Surely not how to stroke the brush or mix the paints. I know you can watch and learn just fine. This just fine. I've seen paintings with intricate shapes, and they can merge all together in different ways. If you can't understand on your own, what good would a teacher do? If you're truly passionate, you keep trying until you found a way to make your drawings interpretive. If you have to be taught how to mix shapes together like this, how are you going to envision any yourself? That's why I need a teacher to teach me how to look at things right and ensure other people can see them differently. It's just not getting it. Perhaps a story... Oh, God, I have to try to do... Perhaps a story is in order. Oh, Christ, that sounds creepy. Mike looks to the headmistress standing in the doorway, unsurprised. Fred's head snaps that way and look of fear returns. Was mine insufficient? He sounds like us when we were young teens. Dejected, disappointed, frustrated. We had our passions and were good at them, but we were placed in a different field. Fred looks behind Mike and Linda, a look of shock at what he's hearing. The headmaster and headmistress were frustrated with the profile. This is impossible. I suppose it would do him some good. What story? Perhaps the brief uprising of the college collective. Those students were sorely mistaken in believing they'd win. I was thinking of that incident near the border of Phyllis some 15 years ago. Oh, I've specified actual date there. I'm gonna have to note that. Alright, I get to check on that later. I don't think he'd understand. That's quite a long tale. He'll take turns. He isn't sleeping any time soon anyway. And as long as he gets the main point, I think it'll work. Fred is quite confused. He has no idea what this is about. Although it seems he's not in trouble, he allows himself to relax, just a tad. Very well then, Fred, sit. The boy quickly takes a seat, bewildered, yet oddly excited at this whole turn of events. Linda takes the other seat. Where should we begin? With the two kids heading back from work, and they meet two individuals. Ah, yes. Listen well, Fred. You know the story, and by the end you'll come to understand how Barack is and why it's for the best. Fred nods with understanding. He anticipates an exciting story. Well, considering the outside options... Fred frowns slightly. What's wrong with the outside world? Oh, little boy, if only you knew. If only you knew. Alright, let's refresh this alpha mine. Really should have made tea. Alright. Over a decade ago, Pale was just as it is in present day. Oh, I have this take place in Pale. I guess I do. In that case, I have to fix that part 1 portion. Because they are in Pale right now. This takes place in the same spot, because it's the same orphanage, so why wouldn't it? Alright, I have to deal with that then. Right now, where do I note Linda's thing? Oh, do I not have to do anything? Well, it was near the border, so... Our younger days. Alright, that'll work. Boop. Alright. Farmland in every direction. Alright, over a decade ago, Pale was just as it is the present day. Farmland in every direction, and a town some miles down the road. Various dirt roads crisscross the area, most rarely traveled by vehicle. 15 miles to the west is the border of Phyllis, a neighboring nation. Iraq has no dealings with other nations, so this border is closed. Fenced and guarded. I need the verb there. The orphanage sat in its lot between some farms. Plenty of kids lived there and eventually left once they reached adulthood. Mike and Linda lived here as orphans before eventually running the place themselves. They each lived within the single parent until they were 9. Mike's mom and Linda's dad were partner detectives who died chasing some criminals. Note that. Did I get that correct? Alright, that we dealt with later. Mike and Linda were transferred to this orphanage and have remained for 4 years. Currently, they work as teachers for a school in town, but this isn't what they were trained for by their parents. This is their plight at this time, and a key detail that begins the story. This story, starts with the arrival of 2 men in this town, agents to an organization called CAIRE. They are codenamed Friend and Scout. The pair are searching for people who are dissatisfied with their lives here. Friend had the bright idea of watching the less traveled roads for walkers, thinking that if anyone is going to complain about the nation, it'll be out of earshot of everyone else. Scout knows is a dumb idea. With very little foot traffic, what's the chances that any they do see will be talking crap? Scout will let Friend experience the failure of this idea, and then they'll move on to a more populated area. Despite Scout's reasonable deduction, he will lose to Friend on this. So, we're not going to find anyone here. The road's deserted. Relax, Stone. Don't be so pessimistic. Opportunity can knock from anywhere. We just have to sit and listen. It's what you're here for. We'd be better off on a busy street with lots of people. Just look for someone grumpy and follow them. Scout, no one's gonna wear those feelings on their sleeves like that. It would stand out, and that's the problem for people here. No, if we were to find a new recruit, we have to start someplace they wouldn't hide their true feelings. This road is still traversed, so here we wait. Then we just walk up and lure them with some similar ideas, and we'll have them. This is going to take forever. For a reconnaissance agent, you're not that patient. For an interrogative specialist, you're awfully cheery. A few hours pass. Scout is growing more and more irritated. He agreed to this, but he's just counting the minutes until Friend is proven wrong. Some people do walk through, but none are speaking aloud. Why would they? But after these hours pass, Linda and Mike make their journey. They are returning from their work as teachers' assistants, heading back to the orphanage. They are quite upset at their lot in life and frequently complain about it. Another day in paradise. Or little kids to teach how to paint or count. Ugh, kill me. I'm bored beyond belief. I know we're good at it, but it's just so simple. There's no challenge. 4 years of this crap. Remember how we'd be in our parents' office, listening to the stories, making our own theories in private and testing them? What I would give to go back to that. We can't just continue along that path. That's what I don't understand. Yes, I get it. All our training was off the books, but Dad still kept records, as did your mom. They can't have just checked. And now we've been tossed into education, of all things. Those co-workers could have told them it wasn't their business, so it's okay to abandon us. After all the paperwork we did for them. Sharks, bastards, they're all shits. How are we supposed to get back in there? Other kids was the other way, so why can't we? Why aren't there aptitude tests? We're too old, that's why. We're past the stage by 1 single year. So screw us, I guess. That master messed this all up. I hate it, hate it, hate it. Linda lifts an arm to Mike and squeezes tightly. It's unfair. This whole country is messed up. Mike and Linda are experiencing similar feelings to Fred. Even worse, in fact, to the point of hating the country itself. Like Fred, they have a different field they want to get into. Unlike Fred, they were set to get into that field, but were screwed by something. This is the source of their ire. Scout and Fred, watching this road, perk up hearing these outbursts. Scout is quite surprised this plan actually worked. Well, I'll be damned. See, what did I tell you? This was luck, nothing more. Best we give love a shot, don't you think? We could have always just gone someplace more populated, but sometimes we just have to take a shot in the dark, see if we get lucky. His smile was wide, eyes beaming, chuckling to himself. Scout's irritation returns. Friend is always a pain like this. He makes spontaneous choices and gloats when these terrible decisions work out. Hold on. Did we get that look? Alright. They work out more often than they should. This upsets Scout further. At least he can be done here if Friend can recruit these two. The sooner they can be done, the sooner Scout can be far away from this dumbass. Alright, let's use finish instead. Or alliteration. Then get to work, approach them somehow, I'll hang back and signal if I spot trouble. Ditching me then. That's fine, I'm used to working alone. This time you don't have clamps. I don't need them, just a few words will do their magic. Brendan heads off to a telephone pole along the path, just out of sight. He pulls out a book with some previously written notes on the problems with Burak. He'll be writing these notes, writing more such notes, and speaking them aloud. Talking on how Burak is messed up and ideas on how to fix it. He hopes this will draw on the kids. Friend won't give the kids any credit in observation and reasoning skills, thinking that kids are kids. This is grossly inaccurate. He has no idea what he's getting into. When Linda and Mike near... Friend will start talking aloud, just making his presence known. The two will quiet down immediately. They continue to walk, waiting until they pass to get far enough away to continue. However, once within 20 feet, Friend speaks up more specifically, pretending to read from his booklet, occasionally writing on it. During this encounter, Friend would gesture with his arms and hands frequently. His body gestures are very expressive. Let's gesture twice in one sentence. These movements. Alright. Then that also gets on green because that's not dialogue there. Oh, good, some birds are fighting outside. Speaking quietly. Faulty education system, too much focus on natural gain, then feelings of fulfillment, of belonging, no love of Burak. That's about right. Linda and I briefly eye Friend, but keep walking. Child labor force kids to work at a young age instead of letting them play and grow as people. Burak's really fucked up. Alright. More audibly. Mike and Linda slow and then stop in front of Friend, aghast. Profiles of natural talents, categorizing a child's abilities, no room for personal preference. Passions are shut down for the, quote, greater good. Such a horseshit way of doing things, shakes his head. How haven't the people rebelled yet? This place is going under sooner or later. Friend notices, the two looking at him with faces of shock. He grins internally. Then he starts speaking, so... Alright, lifts his head and looks to the two kids. Pardon me, just jotting some things down. Thinks to himself. Thinks to himself for a moment before continuing. Actually, perhaps you can assist me. I'm trying to write up a paper on the failings of this nation. An easy task, I'm sure you're aware. But what I want are the actual stories of those who suffered under this iron-fisted rule. What do you say? You wish for us to commit treason? Who's gonna know? Hell, even if you ratted me out, I'd be long gone before anyone found me. There's no risk to me. Who are you? You can't be from here, talking like that. We don't have open borders. How'd you even get in here? Credentials are so easy to fake. Just sparkle them up enough. Plus, not everyone is against a bribe here or there. Think of how much better a border agent can do his job if he had the best gear. Granted, it's just a bit counterintuitive, but some people are just so desperate to perform to their limits. It's truly stupid. Pardon me once more. You asked who I was. Just call me friend. Linda realizes this guy is full of shit, but is still in shock at how overtly he's speaking about treasonous things. Mike is more curious than shocked. He looks around for listeners, thinking this may be a sting. Maybe there have been reports of dissidents in the area. And you want what? A quote? Here's my problem. I've heard stories and listened to the talk of some citizens in other cities. I understand how bureaucracy basically works. It sickens me. I thought I'd have a good story, but I didn't realize it'd be an epic. If I'm going to expose the inner turmoils of this country to the rest of the world, I'm going to need the words of trusted individuals to back me up. I don't need any names, just stories from those on the inside, to really show how this land's way of thinking and doing things is fucked up. This will spark a great rage in the other lands, and they'll seek to save those on the inside, like yourselves. But they need something riveting to really light their blood. Linda and Mike are quick to recover from their confusion. They now realize this guy is likely a hostile agent who wishes to grant this nation a political advantage. He's just going to use them. But believes if Bureauc changing for the better, then why not? They can play along for now, as they do hate the orphanage and what's happened to them. First, though, they test his desperation. After all, he is fishing for people in a small town and a sparsely traveled road. And then tugs on Mike's arm, looking a bit worried, faking it. I don't think we're the ones you're looking for, mister. I'm sure you'd be better off with a middle-aged workman who's always strived to be an artist, but is stuck sorting cargo. She starts leading Mike away. Friend shuts his book, speaking more seriously. But will I find one? You should know by now, the longer you live here, the more you become accustomed and accepting to its way of life. No one who's in their 30s or even 20s would think twice about their situation. This place may be messed up, but it screws with the people very, very well. No, I need the words of those who have yet to succumb to its rigors. Those who were on a set path, one that suited both natural talents and interests, yet were jettisoned because no one could be bothered to speak up without prompt. The kids now know a friend overheard them and is trying to use their conversation against them. They continue to humor the man. Mike leans into Linda's ear. Perhaps we could talk for just a bit. Linda whispers back. This is too dangerous if anyone finds out. No one's here. If the guy's caught and the cops talk to us, we'll just say we thought he was a crazy eccentric. That might work, but... Friend, what would be the use of us telling you our story? How would you prove it was real? That's all I need. Any story about the pains of those under an unjust rule is enough to spur action amongst citizens. Whether it's true or not doesn't matter. Enough will believe it as long as it's written convincingly. They'll get their nation's leader to act sooner or later, but we first need information. That's why I'm here. To gather the ammunition, the accusations of mistreatment. The other countries will provide guns, their leaders questioning Bureauc's ways. Only then can we change this nation, and for the better. That's a lot of talk and a bit too hopeful. How can you guarantee anything will happen? Will he be long dead by that time? It may take a few years, perhaps even a decade, but we can't reach that point without a start. So, what do you say? Kids are at the very least found somewhere to vent their feelings. I hate Bureauc. Friend nods, opening his book and jotting notes. At first we were like everyone else, just going through the motions and taking in the little hints during our lessons, really using our observation skills. I really hate that. It puts so much pressure on a young one. It takes time to develop these skills, but Bureauc wants them to rush, rush, rush. They'll be pushed to a breaking point and collapse. It's truly disgusting. We weren't meant to be teachers, but our profile was locked at age 12. I've heard of this. Your profile determines what job you eventually get after years of internship to ensure you fit immediately. And at a certain point, it can't be changed. You're locked in, destined to work that path through your adult years. Even training in other fields isn't accepted, just a hobby to enjoy while crying about lost chances. How did Bureauc survive to this point? No one could tell our agent of our private tutoring. We could have gone back on track. We told the headmaster, but he just waved us off, claiming he knew what he was doing. bastard. He had 3 years to do this before it was too late. Handle. But no one spoke up, and it's not like the agents asked. Bitch. This obsession with avoiding answering easy questions, it's absurd. You are trained in other fields. This agent could have asked. I'm sure you informed her, and she waved it off because you had no official records or proof. The only thing that could have proved it was testimony, but no one would say anything because the agent never asked. That's the kind of thing that really gets me fuming. Just what are this agent's job requirements anyway? Dressing up, scowling, and signing away someone's life? Huh, I bet she probably had no interest, inherent ability, nothing beyond smiling and nodding. The headmaster just sits in his office. We really see him. Yeah, they're both completely incompetent. Only the rest of society gets stuck with her job. She's unfit for her position, clearly. I bet her parents put some weight on her superiors to get her the job. This headmaster must be a drunkard. Huh, it wouldn't surprise me. I feel a bit better getting this off my chest. Would you like to get more out? In the end, it'll take you years to do anything, right? Not quite. You are in a unique position to contribute more than just a story, a tale that could be made up. I never really introduced myself. My code name is Friend, and I represent a society very much opposed to Burak. My people would be directly changing the station, and you two could be of great help. Your stories and experiences would definitely light the fire, my fellows, but having some allies on the inside who give us information would be invaluable. Interested? What information? Once you're in with your job, you'll be a true part of the nation, a true citizen. No, Nope, wrong word. Full part of the nation, true citizen. You'll be privy to some societal information, have access to the nation's children. They would undoubtedly know a lot of what their parents do and say. You would have an ear. If you're very good teachers, the kids will likely be those of politicians. A unique chance to gather information that would be nearly impossible to learn otherwise. You have to be willing to help us, that is. Linda and Mike neither were surprised that Friend so easily outed himself. They'd be stuck with education jobs and would just be aiding some other group with no real benefit to themselves. Although not into being used, this has been quite entertaining, and so far, they've been intrigued by this organization. They feign interest, and Friend has no idea they're doing it. So, you really couldn't use an adult, that they'd be too risky, but as kids, you can develop in Burak. You can develop in Burak as ace teachers and lend you information to get from the kids of high-ranking politicians. That's ingenious. No. Well, they don't know they'll be going in or out of the nation. They'd be stuck in here. But I don't think I want to imply that. But as kids, we can resist. We can still avoid Burak's mindset. Develop as ace teachers and lend you information we get from the kids. Ingenious. It'll give us something more to work for, more challenge. With great risk comes great reward. How can we do this right now? What can we do? Come with me and my partner to our little base. Talk to the others, grant them the power to really take down this nation's erroneous principles. We'll guide you from there. Where's your partner? Right here. Scout emerges from the field. Linda and Mike jump legitimately. They were unaware he was so close. This concerns them as it means they're actually there are actually capable people in this organization. Sorry, but I'm trained to be sneaky. I'm Scout. Pleasure to meet two like-minded individuals such as yourselves. To meet two like-minded individuals as yourselves. No, I think I put the such in there. Scout and I were tasked for finding people like you. We can't do much from the outside, but we help inside. With help inside, we can more effectively unwind Burok into a more community-driven nation. Community-driven? We believe in making up for others' weaknesses, as no one is perfect. I can't sneak too well, so Scout handles it. He's terrible at talking, so I take care of that. Though I might now realize the organization is similar to Burok, as these two definitely have duties fitting to their skills and are good at what they do. But this business of making up for others' weaknesses and being community-driven is deterring. Do they not wish to push themselves to be self-sufficient? Friend is certainly not observant. So are they like those Burok, similar? So are they like those of Burok, similar, or something else entirely? You didn't have to say it like that. Whatever, let's go. The quartet head off through the field, and will make way for a few hours on foot. They will arrive mid-evening, 8 p.m. Alright, that's good so far. I'm going to check on the character stuff real quick, make sure I got the mom and dad thing right. Mike's mom, Linda's dad. Alright, so that seems to be maintaining it accurate. Yeah, Mike, mom for M&M. Alright, that's fine. So that specifies 15 years ago, so I have to fix... I think that's the only place I mentioned 15 years ago. Let's make it 10 years instead. Gotta fix something real quick. Alright, I'll make it 10 years. Now I can fix that issue. This says a decade ago. Let's make it a decade. Actually. Because I had to take over and work for a bit. See, they're 14, they can do that at 19. Easily kind of take over the place. They work for a few years. Alright, that should be about fine then. Alright, we get to deal with the fun part now. Actually, was that page 2 accurate? After I changed that stuff. Maybe it was still late. Okay. Alright. Next up. The nation employs various circuses to make rounds and entertain the citizenry. This is also a grand showing of immense skill and the amazing acts that can be accomplished when everyone is trained to perfection. A real statement to how Burok works, and the audience is hugely impressed and entertained. This portion of the story involves one circus in particular, Robert's Radiant Retinue. That gets a colon, not a comma. This circus was known far and wide for the Flaming Two Twirl, an extremely high-level act involving two flaming batons. The performer, Charlie, could almost paint shapes in the air as he tossed them, spell messages, otherwise perfectly be in sync with the others. It was a sight to behold. A month ago, Charlie died in an accident in another town. The Flaming Two Twirl died with him, but all hope was not lost. Charlie had a son, Timothy, who had held his own in simpler twirl acts. Since his father's death, he's been tasked with gearing up and taking on his father's mantle, a tall task for an 11-year-old boy. However, Robert has high standards, unrealistic almost, in a desperate attempt to maintain his fame. Robert has placed an immense amount of pressure onto Timothy. The circus is currently in an abandoned campfield about 5 miles from the border of Phyllis. Although none of Burok's businesses involve this border, it's still worth mentioning. This campground is surrounded by a few miles of woods, mostly trees and pine needles, with sparse bushes. There is one road in and out to the south side that, after about a mile, splits east and west. The campground is 10 miles north and 10 miles west of Burok, Pale. Alright, one bad show. The circus puts on a good show. Lion taming and tricks, trapeze with minimum safety equipment, very much death-defying. Juggling, many things of different weights, and falling timing. And sizes. Knife throwing while blinded and dizzy. The main act is the batons, a troop of twirlers, twirling and tossing. A troop. That's gonna kill me. Twirling and tossing batons to each other without looking into the air, with others catching. Another such highly skilled acts. The grandest feat has not been performed for some time. That's an old term. Alright. The flaming two twirl. Alright, so that was there, so I don't need it down here. Greatest feat, flaming two twirl. Is still unavailable. Yeah. Will be performed. Yes, Timothy still can't do it. Alright. I don't need that in there. Timothy is but 11, yet very skilled for his age in the baton twirl. His father taught him well. However, Timothy has struggles. His observation is subpar, and his lack of ability is killing his progress. Robert has been... That's in the character page, so it's already defined in there. Robert has been getting frustrated with difficulties, but all comes to a head during one particular performance. I'll put in parentheses. Alright. The crowd is silent in respectful awe at the skilled performers. The lion just finished his lion dance with the trainers, and now they wait for the coveted batons. Troop of 13 walk out, the head twirler, adults and young adults, all 16 plus, and one Timothy. They take their places and start. For the first few minutes, all is well. Each performer tosses the batons in perfect sync with each other and the band. Timothy is perfectly attuned as well. At the 3rd minute mark, the second batons are dropped from the ceiling. Nope, I don't need to say that. They drop from the ceiling, and not all at once either. The troop catch and use their second sticks in perfect timing with the beat. The drummers will alter their timing to assist. It is their job, after all, as the troop can't jump up 10 feet. Timothy snatches his second and attempts to twirl with the first. He drops it. This skews the timing with the others, who adapt well to the situation. Timothy attempts to twirl both again, but drops one and tosses the other. The troop and band again sync perfectly to match their movements with the off-timed Timothy. They don't show this on their faces, but they do not appreciate this kid trying to ruin them. Alright, make it that way. Fortunately, the crowd sees this as a comedy routine and enjoys a good laugh. Look at that kid, they're trying to keep up. Robert is furious. The show continues in this haphazard manner until the act finishes. The troupe bows and exits. Robert thanks the audience, and the circus finishes up. Once everyone's gone, they all gather. Robert and the performers. gather around Timothy, the big tent, not bothering to hide their scowls. Great chastising is to come. I won't mention that part. A man in the audience has a different look on it than the others and the performers. A look of knowing, of understanding, and of sympathy. This man is tender, an agent of care, searching for possible allies in the inside, just like friend and scout. Tender believes he's found someone he can recruit really easily with some minor manipulation. After performance, he hides away to see how they treat him. Robert, Timothy, and Peter and the troop members are all gathered in the main tent. Timothy is standing beside the knife throwing board, fitting as he's about to be skewered. Alright. So I can get rid of that part then. Alright, the troop is huddled together near the audience seats, watching and listening, leering. Peter is beside them, and Timothy... Oh. It's beside them. Well, between them and Timothy, acting as the voice of the troop. Robert is pacing just 10 feet from Timothy, shaking his head as he mumbles to himself. All can understand him, but stay silent until he speaks actively. Robert paces to the left and right, looking occasionally at Timothy, leering and mumbling. Timothy 2. Silent, as he knows better. Finally, Robert speaks. That just took a page off. That's a shame. I've done so much for you, little Timothy. I've given you food, shelter, a home. Others in your situation would have gone to an orphanage, but I thought, Timothy's one of us. I can't abandon him. Charlie would have wanted this boy to stay with his friends, family, with us. Only here can you continue along your path as a botanist, to twirl in a grand act with your peers, and perhaps in time even stand out amongst them with a flaming tutorial, just like your father. Charlie was a dear friend, and I'd rather see his progeny take up the mantle and achieve heights not yet seen by man. You could have been happy. Robert guilt trips Timothy, tying things in with his now dead father. He kept Timothy around because of Charlie, but Timothy has betrayed his favor. Robert tries to make it sound like he's being more charitable than in actuality. I'm very grateful, and I want to have bone every day. Silence! Timothy freezes. Robert pauses for a moment before continuing, now standing still, leaning slightly towards the boy. I gave you a chance to continue your father's footsteps, to become a great performer, and to lead us to a grander stage. Peter looks slighted by this, but doesn't say anything. And yet, what do I see? A little boy lazing about, while Peter and the others work and strive for perfection. Watching from the sidelines, do you think you are so gifted you need not join them? Although it would be ideal for you to learn with just viewing, like a normal kid, it's now clear you can't even manage that. Shaking a bit, Timothy continues to plead his case, but in a strained tone, eyes starting to well. Sir, you asked me to watch, and Peter did allow it. I watched so much. I did try to join in. Robert scoffs. Timothy continues unabated. But everyone went too fast. Robert glares, as does the performers of the troupe. Peter shakes his head. I could tell they were intentionally trying to go fast and pause just to mess with me. They didn't want me in the act. Timothy attempts to reason with his fellows, but ends up blaming the troupe. Peter kept the pace normal, still quite fast for Timothy's sake. However, he expected this to be plenty enough for the boy who struggled by just watching. Peter's offended Timothy's remark, taking a few steps forward. He corrects the boy in a mature manner, but in a harshly direct tone. We must practice at full speed. Otherwise, how can we perform our best before an audience? Your task is to learn with us. As Robert requested, I allowed you to watch. I saw how little you were able to maintain focus, so as much as it chagrined me, I let you join at less than peak skill, and we went at 90% speed. For the 1 troll, you did keep up, and very well. But the moment we moved on to a 2 troll, a minor adjustment, you fell apart. Every time. It is your responsibility to learn and progress, but you have failed and disappointed all of us. Your shortcomings are yours alone, not ours. Timothy looks dejected, unable to counter this point. He knows that he can't learn normally, and it hurts to have others directly tell him. Robert takes a few steps forward, leaning down just a bit more, establishing a position of dominance and speaking in a harsher tone than before. For 1 month, I have let you stay. For the entire time, you've not progressed 1 bit. This is more than a minor investment now. I need you to stop this dilly-dallying and get to work proper. You made great progress with Charlie, and when Charlie was still here. There's no reason you can't continue. You've had time to mourn and move on with your work, as we all did. Clearly you've given up. With no familiar ties to us, you figured on freeloading instead. If we are just some carnival folk to you, are we just some carnival folk to you? Bleh. Brushing away some tears. I do miss my father, but I've strived to work to my limits, to reach this level of skill, only to feel like he's still here. I did think a lot of you all, but it's been made clear you think little of me. Fist ball up, squeezing hard and getting angry. How can I work with you you're whispering behind my back? He does not belong here. If truly my father's flaming twirl, you wouldn't have kept me. Even knowing this, I kept practicing, and Timothy accuses the troop of not wanting him around. This is exactly... Alright, that's an issue here. I gotta place that here. This is actually true because he's holding them back. He accuses Robert of only keeping him around, providing the flaming twirl, which is true. All these points were ignored. But you stopped. Taking another step forward, towering over the boy now. You could have continued to practice with them, but instead you stuck to the sides. I don't care about your paranoia. No one would bother to sabotage a boy who can't even watch and learn. Staring directly into Timothy's eyes, asserting this point, Timothy wills up again, sniffling. Stopping your practice the same as never starting. You can't achieve any goal without finishing the requisite work. And suppose you're right about the whispers. Nothing anyone says should deter you. We aren't affected by such rabble. It's a fact of adulthood. Another fact of being a grown-up, professionalism. These fine men and women wouldn't bother speaking ill of someone beneath them. Timothy looks down, nearing the breaking point. All I need of you is to persevere and succeed. That's all. I practice on my own, in my trailer, once I've watched the first session. I can focus better, and if you could watch like a normal person, you'd be able to take these practices to heart and learn from them. I don't think I need to repeat myself on this, do I? Timothy slowly, stutteringly shakes his head, accepting all the verbal abuse. Watching and doing are completely different. The entire reason I set you to watch was so you could train on your own without causing the troop troubles. Anyone would know to work on their own. Robert is twisting his own words into a new truth, one that Timothy is starting to accept. At first, he said Timothy to watch so he learn by observance. Now to have him practice on his own, accounting for Timothy's lack of learning ability that he didn't realize before. Robert is outright lying here. He never expected Timothy to practice at all. Even if I believed you, it would be of no import. The results are all that matters. This last show was a travesty. We are fortunate to have so many hearty folk watching, thinking your repeated blunders were a comedy act. But the troop here, I doubt they feel the same. They all leer, eyes swarming on Timothy, arms crossed, some fists clenched, rage suppressed. Peter just looks displeased, not mad per se. He speaks once more, again in a more mature tone, but as harsh as before. Not as harsh before, more informative. Do you understand how much you messed up? Your timing was off by a full second once the second batons dropped. You kept losing control of your second, and with your loosened grip, it either fell to the floor or flew across the room. As professionals and experts, we can adjust on the fly while staying in sync, This doesn't mean you can improv more to the act. We practice so much to ensure we are perfectly timed with each other as possible. And for a routine we all worked so hard on. Those interruptions spit in our faces, making light of the act we created and rehearsed. Do you know how difficult it is to script a dance routine timed with drums and with batons being traded off into specific performers? It is very time-consuming to create such an act, and even more so to ensure we have it down perfectly, and to a level beyond what the audience expects. I didn't mean to cause trouble. Still looking down. And yet you did. Any other audience, and we'd all be under fire. They'd say we don't care about our work, that our standards are too meager. We'd be the laziest act they've ever seen, even allowing such an unskilled boy to join us. A novice troupe of amateurs, that's what they'd say. Your task was to learn by watching, and I allowed you to learn by doing. It was a mistake to allow you in the act. I take responsibility, but I won't make such a blunder again. He's now eye to eye and looks to the boy. Timothy, you are expelled from my troop. Timothy now weeps, very frustrated. This undertaking was too much of a dream of Robert's. We aren't getting the flaming two-twirl back, not if you can't do even a basic two-twirl. Peter stands back up, stepping back to stand with the troop. The troop nods in agreement. Tonight's audience will spread word of your little comedy routine. New viewers will come just to see the bumbling circus flailing acts. Despite all the work we've put into our shows, you ruined everything in 5 minutes. We've become a laughingstock. Can you not imagine the twisted tales they'll tell, whispering to each other how much of a failure we all are? Robert is demonstrating just how much the words of others can hurt, how it's bad for business. He's using Timothy's own argument as his own, the very same he argued against. This point is not lost on Timothy. You say adults aren't affected by words of others. Sounds like you're perfectly full of it. This paranoid thinking that the audience is shit-tonguing you behind your... Ow. Robert backhands Timothy across the cheek. The boy falls on his butt, holding a trembling hand to his now reddened cheek. Peter stares at Robert, shocked. Some of the troop wince, but say nothing. Fully yelling, You are to be silenced, boy. You've been allowed to speak and argue your point, but I've reached my limits. How dare you try to use my own words against me, in a completely different situation. You've insulted me, the troop, the entire circus, my family. The crying stopped briefly, but still flowing tears, he stifles out. My father was your family, and you are the adopted son. You haven't earned your place like he did. You are temporary. You've had your chance and blew it. But I am not an unkind man. I think this little talk of ours, you now understand your situation. This isn't a dream, kid. It's real life. You must perfect the flaming two-twirl to honor your father properly. I'll give you 1 more month. Learn the basic two-twirl. Even someone like you can figure it out given that much time. Robert stands, bent forward just a foot above the kid's face. If you can't fix this problem by then, you'll be shipped to an orphanage, and we will forget you were ever here. You'll be good as new, cured almost. You'll be rated for other tasks and never get to do what you claim to love, just like so many out there. This is your last chance to be one of the very few who can work with a genuine smile. Be gone. Turns away and walks to his trailer. He needs a drink. Robert has once more changed the story of why Timothy was allowed to stay, as well as how he feels about him. Further manipulating Timothy using his father, and leaves the boy with an ultimatum, one he doesn't expect him to accomplish. This will give Robert an excuse to get rid of the kid. The troop disperses. Peter looks at Timothy for a moment, disapproval over the strike, but says nothing. He walks away as well. Timothy stays for a moment, but being in his tent is suffocating. Returns to his trailer to mull over the chastising and to cry. Unbeknownst to Timothy, a sympathizer was watching. The CAIRE agent Tender. He sees that Timothy clearly doesn't belong in this land. If he remains here, he'll just suffer more. This is not like one of Tender's colleagues, a former bureauc, who joined CAIRE years ago. Perhaps the two would get along well. Would. Regardless, the boy would be perfect, but he must earn his trust, and he knows just the way. After watching half the chastising, he exits the tent and heads to the back where the trailers are. There are very few people in the area, and they are attending their own business, so he's easily able to just walk by them. Looking around, he finds the most unkempt one, pops his head in, and surely enough, appears to be the living quarters of just one boy. Tender is in the trailer just briefly, long enough to find a place to leave a gift, something that will guide the boy towards the light. He finds a pile of junk littered in dust, Charlie's things. This will work. He plants the gift, a tablet with a very pleasant and kind AI named Monica. Boots her up and explains the situation. Her task is to influence Timothy, earn his trust through any means, lying, etc., teach him exactly how to do a tutorial, and be a consistent comfort for a lonely kid. This will show him that there are those out there who would help a struggling boy. Only once Timothy has succeeded can Tender show himself. Right, I need to switch this over here, otherwise it implies that the dust is the Charlie's things. The guy of obviously just burned his father's stuff, wouldn't it? Alright. This is well within Monica's abilities. She is, after all, a re-education device. She is complete with built-in electrodes that can fire in a straight line out to 5 feet. She's meant to take those captured by CAIRE and teach them the correct way to live. For Timothy, she'll be very kind, attentive, and instructive teacher, both for learning the act and for learning the act and learning how the world really works. And for showing. Gaining Timothy's trust shouldn't be hard, especially if things go the way Tender figures. There may be some distress ahead for the boy, but it'll strengthen his resolve and is a good test to ensure he'll do well in CAIRE. If all goes well, Timothy can be an excellent sleeper agent for CAIRE, or at worst, another citizen bureauc who leaves the country and more directly joins the team. Either result is good. For now, Tender will watch from the woods and stay in contact with Monica. He walks off the property, somewhere he can make camp without drawing notice and watch the boy's progress. Timothy returns to his trailer, hand holding his throbbing cheek, tears nearly dried. He treats himself. This will forever mar him. He slumps in his father's chair and reminisces on better times. After several minutes, he will go back up and grab 2 batons. He's a dedicated boy and will learn the tutorial on his own. He must. Blunk. Leather. Baton hits the floor in mere seconds. He tries again. That'll work. The other one flies across the room to his father's things. Timothy goes to pick it up, and that's where the ripping starts. Timothy is startled, but stays alert, searching for the source. Monica speaks. Power now on. Recharge scan complete. Recharge complete. Monica back in service. I am ready when you are, Charlie. Shall we start again from the top? Tears well once more upon hearing a tender voice calling out for his father. Soft voice, let's not mix people up here. Timothy dives in the pile to find this angelic presence. He uncovers the tablet. It is a normal-sized tablet, but the electronic face of a beautiful woman moves as it speaks. Charlie, no, you are someone else. Analyzing. Face similar. His son, born at last. Alright. Forgot about that note. But, what is this? My father? Choking on his words. You must be Timothy, now a young boy. I am Monica, the coach to your father, Charlie. Coach? What are... who? My apologies for startling you. I shall explain to you everything. My name is Monica. Your father, Charlie, and I worked together on these performances. I helped him learn the flaming tutor, his own idea, but one he needed assistance to develop. Upworth. I have been in your father's possession since he was a boy, teaching him everything he knows. I've never heard of you. I was last operational over 11 years ago, while your mother was a child. With you. You knew my mom? Only through Charlie's words. She never knew of me. My existence is a secret of Birak. Only select few are allowed to know of me. After all, my function is to go against its own principles, to offer aid to the struggling. Timothy pauses, holding his cheek. That can't be. Everyone has to learn on their own. To observe and be self-sufficient. It's how you're supposed to be, but I can't. This is a one moment. Authorizing. Before I speak further, I must be assigned to you. It is against my programming to speak on this to anyone other than my student. Please, place your thumb on my screen. I shall accept you as my student. Then we can speak in earnest. Timothy was tense at the start of this. Now he is immensely curious and places his thumb after a mere moment of thought. Martha makes a bing noises, faking it. Permission granted. Welcome, Timothy, my student. Timothy feels warm, a feeling he's forgotten since his father's passing. Continuing with our conversation, I am a learning tool, assigned to a student to help them progress in this world. Birak teaches his people to be completely self-sufficient and keen observers. This is to sift out the most gifted to heighten them to grandest positions, while their lessers fumble around in mediocrity. The greatest of these gifted become the leaders of the nation. This makes sense, does it not? The best of the best, who can easily achieve that which you can only dream upon, rule the nation. Despite how manga implies this lie, this is actually how Birak works. Not the learning tool part, but the best of the best part. Technically. It does. Shakes a bit, stuttering slightly. That's why I can never hope to be the lead performer. Peter's very good as I can't measure up. He stares at the floor. This is the grand lie. Timothy looks up, confused. This is what is taught. The lower masses believe that the strong lead the weak. It is the natural order of things. However, those at the highest echelons of power are not what they seem. They are not commoners, who are prodigies. They are nobility of the family's previous leaders. And these children do not necessarily learn entirely on their own. They start with the basics of observation and making the correct assessments of given minimal information. But that is as far as they go. The rest is taught through devices like myself. That can't be. The grand lie holds this country together. Devices like myself, or in some cases private tutors, directly teach the ruling class. The grand lie leads the public to believe they can achieve excellence. This is true to an extent, but the higher order of power has always been in the family. Whether the kids are gifted or not, they are granted the power to rule by birth alone. The idea is that people must learn on their own, develop extremely sharp senses of observation is just for common rabble. The grand lie keeps them in line, and to ensure that only a few can reach their ranks and threaten their power. My father said it was always okay to take a bit longer, to ask for help. No wonder he knew the truth of it all. As a machine, I cannot lie. My only task is to teach my student, truthfully, but let me be clear. What I have told you is the greatest secret of Birak. None would believe you, but best not to alert any listeners to this, quote, treason. My existence is to be kept under the most secret. None can learn of me. Timothy snaps back to attention, looking down to Monica, his eyes sharpened. I understand. I will tell no one about you. Then let us get back to the present. I detect an inquiry. Shall I instruct on proper treatment? An injury. That's what that says, not an inquiry. How did it occur? Timothy holds his cheek. And looks. Job holds his cheek, that's what I need. There's a period there. I was disciplined earlier tonight. I used the ringmaster's words against him and he was angry. Could you explain? Timothy recounts tonight's horror. Tears pour as he sniffles. Robert said I should be able to take the criticism that is part of adulthood, but I'm not an adult. Clearly, the man himself cannot take any criticism. The man attempted to guilt-trip you by using your father's memory, called you family, then accused you of not treating them as family, and ends with calling you adopted. He told you to watch, then claimed to have you join in practice. He never expected you to do more than observe. He states that you should be able to handle criticism and the hatred of your fellows. Yet he cannot take a single lesson optimal review. Indeed, he has told many lies this night. And then he has manipulated you into thinking he did more for you than in truth. He cares only about the flaming tutorial, achieving greatness by using you. Yeah, there's Peter. Well, Peter was a lot nicer. Peter was less severe, but still unprofessional. Peter let you join so he could have slowed a bit. Perhaps taught you separately. Yes, taking you aside and teaching you directly would have solved this in a week. It is not your fault for not being as perceptive as someone over 10 years your senior. This is a gross negligence on their part. It's all so unfair. Why do I have to be singled out? They could have slowed down so I could watch everything. I wouldn't be getting scolded or hit. That Lieutenant Jack asked for the ringmaster. He barely does anything to run this place. He just drinks in his tent. Then let us show him his folly. What do you mean? You're going to perfect the tutorial. I taught Charlie and will now teach you, his son. His pride. I will go very slowly and ensure you understand every last thing. I shall record your movements as well. If you would need anything else, you need but ask. This night was Timothy's worst nightmare. Participated in the act, only to fail horribly. The crowd laughed at him, and the others yelled and beat him. He thought this was the end of it all, but now he has a new purpose. Monica will help him, as she did his father. He will accomplish the tutorial and shove it up Robert's ass. What are we waiting for? Let's go, master! Monica lies and trows to Timothy. Her experience in teaching has been to brainwash people, whether with truth or lies. She was not involved with his father at all. This is the first time she's ever been in Iraq. The grand lie is itself a lie. The gifted of society are actually gifted. They don't use tools to tutor them, nor are the kids of national leaders given special quarter. Timothy's father was kind and caring to his son. He did tell him that getting help was okay, but only that if the help came from him and not asked from anyone else. Alright, I am talking greatly, I see. Charlie was protecting Timothy from the normal ways of Iraq. He loved his son so. The fact that he taught Timothy to do this was perfect for Monica's needs, a good personal experience to reinforce Monica's teachings. Alright, so that final count is 10 pages. Alright, so that's 5 plus 10. Let's just add that. The 2 parts I finished so far. No, I finished 3 parts. How long was this one? 8. Alright. Let's not forget that I read 3 parts so far out of 8. Alright, I can stay there. Now for this awkwardness. Alright, do I need these anymore? I don't think I do. I think I can just move this elsewhere. Yeah. Get rid of that. Get rid of that. I'm going to just move this to the other page. That's the one who's from Iraq. That. 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 He's never on campus. I should know that one. That is the commander. Then I'm just going to move all of those to the character page. That's where it would reliably go. All right, I already have all of that noted there. And just fill this in. All right. One more. Okay, and that's the shorthand there. And that's all of their shorthands there. All right, so that's the grouping of them. This probably went down a page. Nope. All right, cool. The CAIRE agents are holed up in an old university, abandoned some 50 years prior. It was a full college campus that has seen better days. What once had mowed lawns and beautiful sculptures, now is riddled with ivy, cracked floors and roads, trees puncturing roofs, and lichen-infested ponds. Fortunately for the agents, this place has yet to be reclaimed by society. Campus itself is all on its own in the woods, trees bundled together in the outskirts, some slowly growing in the unmaintained grounds. Some time ago, CAIRE learned of an underground channel connecting a neighboring nation to Iraq. This channel had enough space overhead to allow for an occupied boat to travel through, although it would take 2 days to make the trip. It was blocked off for some ways down from a natural collapse, but with enough digging, CAIRE found its way through. The existence of this old university was a surprise. The agents were expecting to have to camp in the woods. It seems the educators used this channel for study, even built a small dock and boating house. The agents have made some progress fixing up the place in their 1 week here, but are careful not to stand out. The power has been re-enabled and some systems work once more. The lights, well, where? This includes the lights and heating. The fridges, now well stocked with rations they brought in and local. The fridges are also operational. Now stocked with the rations they brought in local wildlife. Gams, after some repairing and placement, nope, that was too much. I erased. Grant a very detailed view of the campus. Scout is usually on the treetop, watching from cover for any suspicious movements. For Nintendo, being field agents are just extra hands in the base. They could be anywhere in 81 time. Tenders out of the circus. Main locations: main office building, center of the campus, where the admissions was handled and held the dean the high staff. Has some paperwork left, but has infrastructure to make for a good impromptu command center, complete with security cameras, security room, and lockable doors. It's where we find Surly, Swift, and Vet. Thought I got rid of those. Surly is watching the security cams with almost no sleep, but enjoying his lukewarm soda and peanuts. Just a few feet away is Swift, ready to hop up and bounce to whoever needs a message. Vet is using the old dean's office at her command. All meetings take place here. There. The cafeteria, 2 buildings east and 3 south of the office, is spacious. Spacious and still stocked. Spacious and stocked, although... This place can't serve as a shelter. As the sky is never out of sight. Meals are usually eaten here, but Surly and Scout like to be on the job while eating, never allowing anything to slip by their sight. But it is where most take their breaks and laugh and enjoy time together. Here we find Ruth and No Fucks, the ever-loving couple. Coming up. Cooking up a storm and reminiscing on the time they slaughtered a home of rebels. The electronics wing, 5 buildings west and 2 north of the office, is at the edge of the campus. Despite the passing of time, bureaucratic technology isn't still in repair. There are systems that have been functioning for a long time because of exposure to the elements. Everything in the building was safely stored and works properly. It's just a matter of the agents understanding the extremely involved design of Bureauc, hence only a few systems were back in working order. Rad, also known as Rad, is the only agent in the building, but he's the only one needed. This is like a second home to him. Together with Grease, they got the campus in passable condition for a base. He also repaired some of the radio equipment, now on Scout and Tender. Currently is making some walkie-talkies. The garage is 3 west and 2 south. This spacious lot holds 3 dozen vehicles. It is less marred by time than other parts of the campus. There's a few holes and some puddles, but there's a large crack on the floor. Gathering water. Grease and Hotstomp have been here for a few days. Grease is repairing an old bus just enough so it can run, but reliably. This is in case they need to make an emergency exit. After another day or so, it'll be all fine. HS. Alright. I should put in stop in here. Alright, so Grease. Stop is guarding Grease. Ensuring nothing prevents her from working. Stop also likes hearing Grease talk to herself. Earth Sciences. Although in bad shape, the actual building is of no real importance. The agents need easy access to the basement, and that's about all it can really cover. Richard's in that room, and Jim's down there. Alright. Let's do abbreviations where it shouldn't be. Friends, Scout, Linda and Mike walked through the woods for 4 hours. The kids had met the agents around 3 p.m., now arrived at around 7. That means I have an error in part 2 where I mentioned when they arrive. 7 p.m. Which would be actually early evening. Alright, fixed. Frightened of the kids are in front, Scout covers the back. So you're making use of the campus. Sensible. We thought so too. It just so happened to be here when we arrived. A little oasis. They didn't know about the campus beforehand. A failure in recon. Do you know of this place? Looking to Mike, confirming that the campus is known to locals. We've heard of it, but don't know much. It served as an academy for the neighboring town, but the population dwindled over a century ago and attendance had dropped off. They couldn't pay the bills, and then things went into disrepair as they couldn't maintain pay to contractors. So naturally it rotted away, both physically and in renown. I doubt many remember this place. It's truly an oasis for you all. Well, aren't you the studious one? Winks. Linda feels a cringe, but smiles back. They pass a building. This place hasn't looked touched. You've hid yourselves well. Good to see you didn't repair anything on the outside. Well, we did, but just the cameras. No one's gonna know unless they come right up close. That's assuming Scout and Surly don't notice them. You fixed all the cameras, just the outside ones so we can watch for intruders. Thanks, Surly. This Surly must have his work cut out for him. Watching all those cameras? Well, we can handle much more than that. I swear I've never seen the man blink. He runs his eyes over and runs his eyes all over, catching even the minutest of details. Alright, they'll be under observation while here, but can talk privately inside. Scout notes they're asking suspicious questions, but figures it's just kids being curious. They continue into the main office and head down the hall. Friend decides to detour into the security room. That is this way. Have you lost your sense of direction already? Hardly. I figure we drop by Sterling and Swift's first. Since show the kids just how much we've fixed up this place in just a week. Gotta prove we're capable. We're gonna earn the confidence, don't we? Grunts. No, not grunt. We're going to vet first. End of... And open. Friend opens the door and walks inside. And open. Friend opens the door and walks inside. Surly and Swift. The main security room is not a grand affair, maybe the size of a master bedroom. A man haunches on a chair, sitting in the back support, leaning on his toes on the seat. His eyes are wide and constantly scouring the 24 screens before him, 4 rows of 6. Amazing he can see all of them, given he's just 5 feet away. No. I'm not going to note that detail. A table stands before him, littered with peanut shells both on and around. The bowl still contains 30-some peanuts, and beside is a very lukewarm soda. 5 feet to his right is a leather bench topped with blankets. Atop them lies a man with his hat tilted down over his face. He appears to be asleep, but almost nods as the 4 enter. Unless otherwise noted, the man watching the screens never takes his eyes off them. I still have shorthands in here. Hey there, Swift. Good to see you. Looking rested. Swift takes a deeper breath, but does not respond. Alright. Looks at the man lying on the bench. As I figured. So, how's everything here? Surly does not respond. Good. Well, as you may have guessed, Scout and I have brought others go to vet. Well, we're going to, but into a little conversation about security. Just thought we'd take our new recruits to meet you so we can just see just how organized and secure we are. Accomplished. Go to vet. Scout holds back a smile. So, bring the recruits before our commander, and once we have permission, then give them a tour, right? There. Ignore Scout's and Surly's responses. These are very gifted young adults. They're going to work inside of Iraq for us. Bring a new golden age to this country. Okay. Whispers to Linda and Mike. He's not the most for conversation. Linda and Mike note that Vet is commander and that friend doesn't listen to anyone. Mike decides to move this conversation along. He approaches the monitors. You've got a lot of cameras here. Are they all repaired, or did you bring in some of your own? Surly is now irritated. Friend always bothers him, despite Friend being second command. Despite Surly being in second command. And worse yet, he's brought two people who don't even have Vet's permission to be here. And one of the kids is asking a stupid question. A vein in his temples tenses. He speaks in an irritated tone. Why would we bring the cameras of our own? Should anyone investigate, they could see they are new and not Bjork make. We'd be screwed. Sensible, but you fixed so many in a week. You even have this old station in working order. That would require parts and skip. Electronics wing has plenty of spare parts. Grease is our best mechanic. You think we want to bring someone with great skill to the dilapidated place? Tests and sensible. Really, it's the most important to have security. Anyone can walk in here. And what would happen if they found us? Can you even begin to comprehend what would happen? You'll be caught and probably executed. And yet you ask silly questions. There's no such thing as a silly question. Only stupid children ask questions. You know you'd fit in here. He scowls at this line, but still watches the screens. The opinion of a young fool, if only I cared. It tends to sound disinterested, but clearly still agitated. That look says I bothered you. Friend Salvos a laugh. Maybe don't antagonize the head of security. A coherent thought. Friend didn't fuck up entirely. Quick glance to his side as though to look at Friend. Hey now, not my problem if you take issue with the words of a 14-year-old. No, it's 13, isn't it? It's been 1 year since the profile locked. Ah, crap, now I have to check the ages. Really? I controlled F14. Why did it move me down to here? Oh, the 1. Alright, did I mess up that 13 to 14 business anywhere else? Let's check. Control F14. Control F13. Nothing there. That. Did I mess it up here? No. 13? Yes. Alright. Have something else to deal with because I messed that up. Alright. Sounds like it's 5, a dumb one. As dumb as one at least. So that's what you do, huh? No strategizing or thinking, just waiting. Boring. Eyebrow twitches, the vein pulses once more. Your breath is ruining my drink. Out. Can't ruin what's already. Touches again. Warm and decarbonized. He's got a point. Speaks slowly, holding back his rising rage. Only those of the highest caliber can appreciate the subtle tastes of a good drink. Those experienced in the world. Yeah, I am sure. Anything... Anyway, good meeting you, and Swift here. Hope to see you around. Crushes a peanut. Before leave, Scout quite upset at this disrespect shown to Shirley. Disrespect shown to Shirley. Although, friend always does this, just doubled when Mike pushing the man's buttons. Scout likes Linda more, which isn't saying much. Scout doesn't join this conversation, just holds back his continued hatred of friend. You did good, Mike, very good. We're gonna get along even better now. We should rehearse. Really get underneath Shirley's skin. I'd love... No, we're not going to antagonize anyone here. If friend wants to piss off everyone to the point they ditch him for dead the first chance, that's his bed to make. Ouch, Linda, you wound me. Laughs his heart. Linda is completely underwhelmed by his behavior. Mike is also disappointed, but keeps up the act. If friend keeps acting this loose, then Mike can get a lot of useful information out of him. So, to vet, then? Yes, let's go meet our boss. Like we should have done before heading to Surly. Yes, like we should have done. Don't you dare include me in your antics. Didn't stop me. Scout has now decided to leave friend for dead if he ever gets the chance. Maybe an arrow to the knee for good measure. This is the dean's office. Filing cabinets in decent shape, but sit unused. Only the old desk serves a purpose, holding Vet's documents. Vet is the commander of his operation, a mysterious but kind man. Sits at his desk, writing a report to be delivered back to CAIRE. Multiple chairs dot the room, some gathered from other offices. This is where meetings are held. He'll be friendly to the kids, answering their questions honestly and in full. He talks with some energy, but not as a joke-like friend. Provides exposition, the agent's goal, and whatever else is requested. Entering the office, friend goes through some of his notes, reviewing the progress made so far, working on a report to send back. Friend opens the door without knocking, but Vet has trained ears and realizes someone approaches. He leans back in his dean's chair, leaving his paperwork exposed to all. No need to hide it. The four enter and stand before Vet. Back already, and with new recruits. They are quite interested in helping us on our quest. We've talked quite a bit already, and they're true victims of the nation's inhumane principles. Well then, stands and extends a hand. Welcome, young ones. We represent... Oh, I already went into that. Raises an eyebrow. You told them who we are. Without my approval. Looks around, hand behind his back, beads of sweat begin to trickle down his face. A sigh escapes Scout's lips. We also were guided to Surly in security. Throws a disapproving look to friend. Vet grants an understanding nod to Scout. Vet speaks as though to a new hire. Friend, I recall going over this before we arrived. Your tendency to present yourself with zealousy and talk without censor. Vet's voice gains the slight stern quality once more. And I believe I told you that Scout's decisions were final. Friend shifts in place while Scout smiles slightly. I suppose in this case it doesn't matter so much, as long as no others were in earshot. Of course not. I was on full alert, sir. Only friend of these two children, Linda and Mike, were along the road we were observing. I saw nor heard any signs of others. Vet nods. Good. I knew I could count on you to keep friend from spilling our secrets to anyone upon sight. Friend sweats nervously, crosses his arm in front, then clasps them behind his back, never holding still. The kids eye each other, noting that Vet is actually level-headed and clearly the commander here. They each extend their hands to meet Vet's, smiling. He looks to them, and smiles in kind, shaking each in turn. Vet sits back down. I think that's enough banter before our guests. We'll go over your report in full. The details later. Scout brings his heels together, stands up straight, and presents a strong salute. Yes, sir. Then you may take your leave. Scout heads out. Vet looks at the kids. Please, take a seat. Friend will be standing. Linda might each take a seat directly across from Vet. Friend audibly gulps and attempts to loosen his shirt, but has no collar, no buttons. Now, tell me, what about us has drawn your interest? Although I can't imagine how much Friend has already spilled. Friend is now in a permanent state of nervous and will not be addressed further unless he speaks. Well, what shall we call you? Ah, yes, apologies. You may call me Vet. I am a veteran in Black Ops and warfare. It was a fitting code name. Then, Vet, Mike and I were told of this outside perspective on Barack. We are well ingrained into the principles of observation, action, and responsibility. Ah, yes, the need to develop observational skills so you can observe quickly and efficiently. Those who are skilled at birth get a head start. Not too abnormal, but Barack's obsession with this is disturbing. The need to act, I can understand and get behind. Without action, nothing is done. Although the responsibility you speak of is nothing so dutiful. It is a requirement of the people to keep their head down and accept what the state tells you. To settle for less than you could attain. To be forced into your job you despise. No choice. Do your duty. Despicable. Shakes his head. And to do this to children. Do you agree that the sum of what Barack has taught us? Do you really find the rest that alarming? Who wouldn't? Outside of Barack, I mean. In the rest of the world, people can ask for help or otherwise get assistance in learning tasks. Being forced to watch and listen, rewarded heavily. Those who shortly promise forces a ton of pressure on young minds. It's like a meat sluice. You'll force through and the weaker ones break apart. Watching and learning is a key part of living. If we couldn't, then we'd be in trouble. Everyone must take care of themselves, and when directed, they can work in groups to their full potential. It's not true. That not everyone is normal. There are those who can't succeed no matter how much they try. However, there's still a role for them. I find it comforting that everyone has something they can do in this country. So it takes in the attitude of the kids. They answer like adults and adjusts to answer in kind. To this point, I do not disagree. To have none unemployed is quite a feat. The problem stems from the time frame. You have just a few years to develop these senses. It is unconscionable to expect children to reach a peak of observational skills before their teens. You have so much time until adulthood, many more years to improve. And yet, as adults, you still develop. There are many grown men and women who aren't too keen in the senses. As a military man, I was trained to a higher level, but that is done by choice. Like those, like yourselves, who are pushed through and have to just take it. There's no heart, no love, just pure efficiency. People are not machines, they need time. Time that Barack doesn't want to give. We do get time. Plenty. We're granted lessons to see where we fit in society at no cost to ourselves. And after we've shown our promise, the state finds volunteer jobs to verify and develop our skills and interests. There are so many Barack who work jobs they love. She looks directly in Vet's eyes, speaking as though insulted. How many of Barack truly accomplished their dreams? Taken aback, Vet looks over at her friend questioningly. And you thought these two would join us? They sound like recruiters. Sir, it's odd as it seems. They're just defending what they know and believe in. But these thoughts have been tested for years. Desperately looking to Mike, breathing heavily. If you would tell Vet what you told me. Linda sighs, leaning back heavily in her chair. She looks to Mike to feel this one. Mike will pause frequently, speaking slower than normal as the facts of their misfortune hit once more. Friend did sell us on another idea. Linda was just describing what we've been taught. Anything different is jarring. In truth, we've been duped for 4 years now. Our parents treat us personally. Our volunteer work was for them and their colleagues. We did this for years. Before everything collapsed. My mother and Linda's father died suddenly, an accident of sorts. Our public profile did not include our private training and work, so we've been moved to a terrible fate. Teaching. We have the skills to do it very well, but it's super boring and unchallenging. It's not our preference, it's not what we were trained and promised to do. The state agent came to inform us of a change. We tried to reason with her, told her to look over our parents' training logs, and asked our co-workers to verify. But she did not, no such thing, no research, no verification, just handed us our new jobs and that was it. Labeled the parents' death as an accident, which it kinda was. Won't elaborate unless he needs to. Need to know details. You must absolutely leave out the fact their parents were detectives, that all files were classified. Requiring permission to access them. If the agents ever learn of this, it will spell disaster for him and Linda. Linda bursts out. It's complete bullshit. We should be working towards our dream jobs, what we are trained to do, what we're really good at, but we're stuck with our official records. She couldn't be bothered to check her private logs. Clearly she's not qualified for the job. I recall her being moody. She probably hates her work, but it's still her job. Where's the dedication to good, full work and efficiency? This isn't how adults are supposed to do their job. This isn't how the system's supposed to work. Was it all a lie? Kids are peeved, and some at some specific people for failing their duty. They also don't trust CAIRE. They are here in a bit of a limbo between ideals, but will take much convincing to get them to join. Fit, on the other hand, sees their question of Iraq as a way in. You have assuredly been lied to. The propaganda machine of Iraq is hard to unwind. There is no place in this world where employees work at their full potential at all times. Many get lazy, and others only work the bare minimum to remain employed. Regarding this woman, whether it is possible she was gifted in the position, I don't think this is so. Is there much to a job where you just look up a name in a database and report what you find? Kids look down, realizing this is not untrue. As I thought, it is a bottom-level position. However, you were right in the money with your other points. Linda perks up, nudges Mike, who also stirs and looks to vet. She should do her job, look over some documents, and ask a few questions. It's simple and easy, yet she couldn't even manage that. Linda, you say you are comforted that people like this have work. I thought adults would do their job properly. I expected the agents to have everything correct at the start, that she'd keep us on our proper training, maybe in a different office. But to fail to ask around, it's not outside their job duty to verify information. Linda pouts and crosses her arms, eyes faintly red. Vet speaks factually. Her behavior is not outside the realm of normalcy for Bjork. Is it not normal for people's nature to... Is it not against people's nature to ask for aid? I would imagine interviewing a few of your parents' co-workers would demonstrate that she needed assistance, that she couldn't handle the work herself. Further, being told by a couple of kids that she's doing her job wrong would undoubtedly have upset her. Likely she purposefully avoided the private records just to spite you two for the accusation. This dedication to duty you believe in simply does not exist within all the workers of Iraq. Only from those who walk in what they love. Did you not inform me of your dissatisfaction with teaching? Can you honestly say you've been working at your full potential? The kids tilt their heads down, staring at the floor, silent. Vet takes to a more comforting tone as he guides them away from Burak. He will look between the two kids occasionally. This is quite all right. Your walk may frown upon you, but I see 2 children caught up in a cold, heartless machine. This country led you to believe in an ideal of the perfect worker, of which none exist. This is the truth anywhere in the world. I can tell you 2 are well educated and eloquent. Teaching may be one fit for you, but you had another option, a passion, a job you could work at a very high level of expertise. But the agent you were assigned was a very unhappy woman with no skill set, working a job she loathes. The only reason she holds this position is because someone needs to do it. This is a prime example of just one problem with Iraq, and one you both have experienced as well. He makes his point. The truth of Iraq's employment policies is that someone needs to do it. That's a perfect worker is a fantasy. And it's just not her. The headmaster of our orphanage is also a piece of work. If he did his job, he'd be back on track, so another has wronged you both. Tell me about him. Leans forward. Everyone has a profile, as we said, but not set in stone until the kids reach the age of 12. We are 13. We came to the orphanage when we were 9. 3 whole years. He had 3 years to update our profile. As the headmaster, he has the authority to request access to private files of the deceased. And we told him of our problem when we arrived. However, he told us to leave the job to him, that we have no say in what he does, and not to bother him again or to lower our profile score. He has no clue what he's doing, and if we didn't tell him about the mistake, he'd never know. Throws up hands. It's part of his job to check on the kids he's given, to get their profile and keep working on it. Just put a request. You fuck! Both of them have screwed us. Red shakes his head. An incompetent man in charge of so many young lives. To treat such fine young adults as wailing toddlers. He must have seen your request as a failure on his part in his observation and, well, the 3 principles of the country Linda brought up. Truly a disgrace. Listening to others, giving the benefit of a doubt, investigating at their prompt, a normal person would do these things and resolve the problem. Yet 2 people who control over your lives couldn't be bothered because it would show weakness, rather inobservance. This is the exact kind of thing we wish to address. Fixing Burak's mindset. Linda might now have a way to ask about CAIRE without sounding too curious. What exactly do you wish to accomplish? Saying you're going to fix this place is vague and sounds like a dream. As you know, Burak is built on the principles of harsh training and treatment. To turn its people into cold-hearted, working machines. This is an inhumane act, and makes the national leaders quite pompous and impossible to deal with. That is why we are here, because any talks at the highest stage are met with cold stares and sneers. They won't listen to reason or even advantageous offers, so we were left with working from the inside, with people like you. How can 2 young adults help? Because adults are too ingrained in the system. Too late to expect anything from them. Any attempt to sway an adult would just get us reported. But children haven't yet been dragged through the ringer. There's still time to save them before they become a machine. You've been harmed by Burak. And not just placed where you don't belong. Its workers have actively, or perhaps I should say inactively, sabotaged you both. For no reason other than, I knew what I'm doing, back off. Something a drunkard would say after crashing a forklift. Mike stifles a laugh. Vet smiles back, glancing at Mike, then looks back to both of them. What we need to do first is earn your respect. I want you to see our ways, the wrongs of Burak, and make a decision. He leans back, clasping his hands behind in his lap. Alright, so I need to do that. Should you choose to aid us, then your role would be to pretend to accept the harsh reality and act as normal. continue your volunteer work and proceed on to adulthood as teachers, but not as any teachers. I lost where I was looking. Alright, let me go back here. As teachers, not as any teachers. The best possible. We need access to the highest level of information we can get. The kind that politicians and national leaders would have. Become the personal tutors to their children and listen to what these kids say. They surely have overheard the parents speaking in private, like little spies. We will be in contact as regularly as we can risk, to check up on you both and to collect the information you gathered. Be our eyes and ears at the highest levels possible, so when the revolution comes, we will have the best and most accurate information to grant the best possible chance of success. You will be our foothold, so we can stand together against the injustice of Burak. Kids are intrigued, but still not convinced. That's actually quite ingenious. In fact, it plays right into Burak's ways. Observe, act quickly, and hide your intentions. I love it. Using a hated profession to stick to Burak. That is an idea. Friend relaxes, looks to Vet with a big smile. Vet ignores him. Burak is mistaken in its ways. It pushes for the strength of the individual, but also sacrifices any ability to join with others, as though it were a sin. Only when directed by superior can people be allowed to band together, when they are under supervision. This ensures that no one shares their true thoughts with another. Rather, they make educated guesses as to the thinking of their fellows. This is alarming. Provide people from gathering naturally, avoiding open discussion. As I said before, to program the people to accept the ways of the nation, to alienate them from each other, so none can verify any feelings of doubt towards Burak itself. This is how the nation keeps control over its people. It's sickening. Vet's point is that Burak controls people by preventing them from banding together under similar feelings, which they can't verify because they don't talk to each other, and protesting or questioning the nation. This is not why Burak does things, but is a result nonetheless. The kids don't see it this way. This sound likes interpretive reach, but they let Vet continue uninterrupted. The nation is stable. The only cost is the people's happiness. This won't do. We can achieve a happy life and work together to create great things. This can only be achieved by joining together, helping each other, assisting without being asked. That's a shorthand without. And bring good to one another in general. In community, we can grow and gain true happiness and hardships, and finally achieve world peace. This individualistic approach is not the way to humanity works. Looks down with disappointment, shaking his head. This is his pitch: community and assisting each other, as opposed to Burak's individuality. Brendan speaks up a bit at last. Under Burak's rule, no one can truly understand each other, to be open and vulnerable, but we of CAIRE know the community is the only way to save the world from itself. Alright, these people are more hopeful than practical. World peace is not easy to achieve, and this method is what other lands have tried for millennia. How could these agents hope to succeed where others have failed? After Friend speaks, their doubts skyrocket. They are fanatical hopefuls. Now they're really interested in how they got here and how far they all are. Now the two. What is CAIRE? CAIRE is Vet glares at Friend, who clams up immediately. CAIRE is our organization. It stands for Community-Assisted Integration and its religious extensions. It is a system of beliefs that its members take to heart and follow throughout their lives. CAIRE has rescued dozens of countries already. We've ended wars, fed the people. All the United Lands have banded together to help each other. World peace is still yet out of our grasp, but we are making progress every day. The kids lose all hope. This CAIRE is nothing more than a control mechanism. Given that Vet just finished telling them about Burak's method of controlling the people, They find it jarring that he doesn't realize CAIRE is the same. CAIRE promises world peace, something that all strive for in some way. Just join and follow their beliefs. The ending of wars is likely them using the many allies to pressure the feuding nations into submission. The assertions are actually all true. CAIRE does this. I'm going to put that separate line. Now they're dedicated to learning everything about CAIRE and its members. They report them to the parents' co-workers. They remember their mailing information and hope they do their jobs. But for now, they must perform the role of young hopefuls equal to join, but with some reservations. Oh, this is a lot of talking. That's why I've come, to gain allies and informants. How many more can we expect to see? We have 12 currently tasked here, including myself, though one is still in the field. Mike thinks to himself. Alright. Mike thinks to himself. It was obvious what he meant. Vet's military needs to train its soldiers better. In fact, Vet brought up that many adults aren't too keen observers. If only he realized he was one of them. Sorry, I meant more like us. Ah, you two are the first. We've only been in this country for a week. Only a week, and you've already set up cameras. Vet glances to Friend at the word cameras. Friend awkwardly glances away, feeling another year of his life slip away. Vet looks back to the kids. And found this place. I guess you must have good information. Wait. If you were the first, then how'd you know about the old university? If that was a minor miracle, that is actually, that's a minor miracle in itself. We didn't. We found an underground river with an old cavern system. Quite expansive, extending for tens of miles, and connecting Brock with a neighboring nation. One we saved. The channels all dead end, but one in particular showed promise. The 5-mile mark, there was a natural cave-in, but water was transferring through. After some digging, we explored further, and a few miles down encountered a basement. That is the old Earth Science building. I suppose this old school was studying it. 1 month later, we set off this mission, and here we are. Wow. Ah, but let me finish answering your question. You two are the first. We're the first two, but that is of this operation. A decade ago, we made an initial attempt to gain some allies. We succeeded in recruiting a young man. He didn't want to stay, so we took him with us. After faking his death, of course. He's now here, likely cooking in the cafeteria. What's his code name? Noff. It's short for no fucks. Pardon my speech. He is quite upset at Burak after experiencing the outside world and has requested a name to demonstrate such. Of the ones he pitched, I decided to grant this. Perhaps Friend can take you to see him once we're done here. I know he fancies himself a tour guide. Of course, I'm quite hungry myself, as I'm sure these two are. I wonder how much we'll have in common with Noff. Does he have the same experience as us? We'll ask him. I bet we'll get along great. But let's finish here first. You say you've been here before. How'd you all get in? The Ripper was only recently discovered. Alright. Alright, so that's what's taken care of. God, how much longer is this? That is actually the first time we've gotten in so many. Our borders are closed, but we managed to gain the assistance of one of the few allowed to cross. He's been a good friend, smuggled us in a couple of times. Fortunately, he is nearing retirement. We need more on the inside. To do this, we have to be physically present in some numbers. Quite fortunate, the Ripper came to this abandoned university. serve as a fine base of operations, a place for us to strategize our movements. How'd you convince this guy to join? Friend smiles, remembering the man and their talks back during Friend's teen years. Oh, the joy Friend got out of the week of exploration. That answers Mike's question and will stress certain phrases and words, knowing the kids will pick up on them. Just a little hint as to what CAIRE does. He thinks they'll understand. We have various methods of recruitment. Persuasion is our first. I and Friend had long talks with him over how Barak is poisoning his people, how we wish for world peace, and that we can actually accomplish it. This got him interested, but he needed more. So I took the next step and exposed him to hard truths, the stark difference between CAIRE's ideals and Barak's lies. This sank in a bit, but he still wasn't convinced. The third step is giving him the full experience of CAIRE, long-term exposure to our society's ways, and to our tenets. Eventually, people come to see the light and turn to us over Barak's lies. And he turned to us over Barak's lies. We have multiple nations worth of practice, and have turned them around using these methods. With this man, it took all 3 steps, but he came around and realized we were genuine and defected to us. But your tenants, these are more of a secret that is learned through experience. Sorry, I can't tell you this at this stage. Should you join, you'll discover them for yourselves. Alright, they figure out what CAIRE is basically about. Propaganda, torture, that kind of thing. Okay, seriously, how much is left of this? My throat's dying here. You say all this, but we need to see it. I suppose you could say we've got our interest or persuasion, but now we're at the demonstration phase. The big smile gleams. Very good. Then let's have you stay a bit. I imagine your headmaster will report you missing. That would demonstrate his failures, wouldn't it? Her own smile manifests. Absolutely. He's got nothing. Not going to say anything. We can stay here as long as we want. Splendid. Friend, introduce them to the others, starting with Nah. You already took them meet Surly and Swift with your own hands, so you won't have to do so a second time. Friend stutters. Of course, salutes. And stop with all the shaking. A man of your profession needs to show more spine, even when he went over his commander's authority. Take the licks and continue on. I'll not report this, but I expect you not to make the same mistake again. And no more putting on a show. I accept that you never salute me, and all I care is your loyalty. And you're as loyal as they come. Who are the others? You've met Friend and Scout. Tenda is another field agent, still out searching. Greasus was stomping the garage, tuning up an old bus. Rad is in electronics building, fixing up the radio equipment. Knopf should be in the cafeteria, and if so, then Ref will be with him. Fisher is managing the boats. Down the hall you've been to see Surly watching the monitors, likely with Swift, our messenger, napping nearby. I am routinely here, looking over reports and making plans. I have to get back to writing up my own. Who's your superior? You'll never meet her, but she's a fierce leader. She can do this job all on her own, but has other countries to deal with. One where we are further along than here. Anyway, let's get you introduced to the others and see if you agree with our ideals. I think you'll like a great many of us. On it. Promising, very promising. Since Scott was with him, they couldn't have been followed. The headmaster will remain quiet for some days, but will have to report them missing eventually. The kid supervisors at the teaching job will want to know where they are. If they join, then they can return with some excuse, perhaps even that they tried to run away. That'll work fine. Though, if they don't join us, we'll have to deal with that ourselves. We faked a death before, a fiery car crash. It's certainly a believable way to remove someone, but that one had the rest of the family in it. It's really the only way to handle them without drawing suspicion. They have no access to a vehicle, so we'll have to find another way. It's going to be difficult. I don't think I want to include this part. Alright, I can just do that. Alright, so I'm left with Knopf and Ruth. Okay. Deals with that. That. Yeah, just make a straight decade for everything. Let's note that in somewhere. I can just make it a ever-growing list of stuff. Just have it there for later. Alright, that's a good 2 hours of straining my throat. Let's not kill me here.